911, what's your emergency? Diana Castellanos' steady voice echoed through the emergency dispatch center in Riverside Heights. The words that came next made her heart stop cold. There's a suspicious black man running through Willowbrook Meadows. He keeps stopping and staring at houses. He's wearing all dark clothes and a hood. I think he's planning to rob someone. Please send officers immediately before something terrible happens. Diane's fingers froze over her keyboard as she processed the address. Willowbrook Meadows, Sycamore Court. That was 3 blocks from her house. And the man this caller was describing, the one she claimed was a threat, that was Dr. Isaiah Castellanos, her husband of 6 years on his morning cardio routine. What happened in the next 20 minutes would shatter assumptions, destroy reputations, and expose a truth that would change an entire community forever. Isaiah Castellanos checked his Garmin smartwatch as he stretched his hamstrings against the weathered fence post at the corner of Sycamore Court and Maple Grove Drive. 6:43 a.m., right on schedule, just like every morning for the past 4 years. At 36 years old, Isaiah had the disciplined routine of a man who understood the fragility of human life. As the head of cardiovascular surgery at St. Augustine Medical Center, he'd seen too many patients whose hearts had given out because they'd neglected the basics: exercise, nutrition, stress management. So every morning, without fail, Isaiah ran his precise 6.2-mile route through Willowbrook Meadows, the affluent subdivision where he and Diana had purchased their dream home 28 months ago. The colonial-style house with black shutters and a wraparound porch had cost them $1.2 million, but it was worth every penny. Safe neighborhood, excellent schools for the future, tree-lined streets, perfect for morning runs. Isaiah adjusted his Nike running cap and tapped his wireless earbuds, queuing up his podcast about emerging cardiac procedures. He wore his favorite running outfit, black compression pants, a dark gray moisture-wicking hoodie with St. Augustine Medical Center embroidered in small letters across the chest, and reflective strips on his shoes. He waved to Mr. Tanaka, who was retrieving his morning newspaper from the driveway of the Tudor-style mansion at 4821 Sycamore Court. The elderly gentleman waved back enthusiastically, calling out, "Beautiful morning, Dr. Castellanos." Isaiah smiled and nodded, breaking into an easy jog past the Martinez estate with its perfectly manicured hedges, then past the Johnson's craftsman home, where their teenage daughter was already loading her car for early morning swim practice. This neighborhood knew him. He'd lived here for over 2 years. He'd performed surgery on Mr. Tanaka's wife after her heart attack. He'd helped the Johnsons' daughter with her college essay about pursuing medicine. He'd contributed $5,000 to the neighborhood playground renovation fund, or so he believed. Chapter 2. The new neighbor 3 nailed 6 minutes. Patricia Vandermeer stood in the kitchen of her newly purchased contemporary home at 4792 Sycamore Court, her hands wrapped around an oversized mug of French press coffee. At 47, she'd recently retired from her position as senior partner at Vandermeer and Associates, a boutique consulting firm in Manhattan. The move to Willowbrook Meadows represented everything she'd worked for: security, prestige, tranquility. She'd paid $1.4 million for this house 3 months ago, drawn by the neighborhood's reputation for safety and exclusivity. The real estate agent had emphasized it repeatedly. Willowbrook Meadows is one of the most secure communities in Riverside Heights. Very low crime, very selective about who lives here. Patricia understood the subtext. She'd chosen this neighborhood specifically because it represented a certain lifestyle, a certain demographic, a certain level of comfort. Through her floor-to-ceiling kitchen window, she noticed movement on the street, a figure running past her driveway, dark clothing, hood pulled up, despite the mild morning temperature, moving with purpose. Patricia set down her coffee mug and moved closer to the window. A black man, 30s maybe, athletic build. He was jogging at a moderate pace, but something about the way he moved caught her attention. His head turned slightly as he passed each house, not casually, but deliberately, observing, studying. Patricia's mind immediately went to the Facebook posts she'd been reading in the Willowbrook Meadows community watch group. Just last week, someone had posted about a string of burglaries in the neighboring Crestwood Hills subdivision, 2 miles away. The post had included security camera footage of suspects, all young men, several of them black, casing houses during early morning hours. She watched as the jogger slowed his pace near the Stevenson house 3 doors down. He stopped completely, placing his hands on his knees, appearing to catch his breath. But his eyes, Patricia could see from her vantage point, were scanning the property, looking at windows, studying the layout. Her chest tightened with anxiety. The Stevensons were in Europe for 2 weeks. Their house was empty, and this man seemed to know it. Patricia grabbed her iPhone from the marble countertop, her hands trembling slightly. She'd never called 911 before in her life, but she'd also never witnessed what looked like obvious criminal reconnaissance in her own neighborhood. She pulled up the Willowbrook Meadows Facebook group first, scrolling quickly through recent posts. There, a thread from 4 days ago. Stay vigilant, neighbors. Crime doesn't respect zip codes. If you see suspicious activity, report it immediately. Better safe than sorry. 63 people had liked the post. 42 comments, all reinforcing the message. Watch out. Be aware. Protect your property. Patricia dialed 911. Chapter 3. The call. 6:10 minutes. 911, what's your emergency? Diana Castellanos had been an emergency dispatcher for Riverside Heights County for 9 years. She'd taken calls about heart attacks, car accidents, domestic violence, missing children, and active shooters. She'd talked suicidal teenagers off bridges and coached panicked parents through CPR on unresponsive infants. 9 years of crisis management had given her an almost supernatural ability to remain calm under pressure. But something about this particular Thursday morning felt different. Maybe it was the weird dream she'd had the night before, or the fact that Isaiah had seemed distracted at breakfast, worried about a complicated surgery scheduled for later that afternoon. Yes, hello. This is Patricia Vandermeer, calling from 4792 Sycamore Court in the Willowbrook Meadows subdivision. The woman's voice was educated, controlled, but Diana could hear the underlying tension. I'm reporting suspicious activity in my neighborhood. Diana's fingers moved automatically across her computer keyboard, pulling up the address, logging the call with the timestamp, 6 hours 47 minutes and 23 seconds, AM. Standard operating procedure. What kind of suspicious activity are you reporting, ma'am? There's a black male, I'd estimate mid-30s, running through our neighborhood. He's wearing all dark clothing, black pants, dark gray hoodie, with the hood pulled up. He keeps stopping in front of houses and staring at them. He was just examining the Stevenson house, which is currently empty because they're traveling. Diana's professional mask remained firmly in place, but something in her chest tightened. Willowbrook Meadows, Sycamore Court. That was the street that ran parallel to her own street, Magnolia Lane. Can you describe what specific actions this person is taking that you consider suspicious? He's running through a residential neighborhood very early in the morning. He stops periodically and looks at houses, not just glancing but really studying them. Looking at windows, checking out entry points, and he's dressed in dark, concealing clothing. Diana pulled up a neighborhood map on her second monitor. Sycamore Court connected to Magnolia Lane via a walking path that cut through the small community park. Isaiah's running route, the exact route he ran every single morning. Ma'am, is this person currently visible to you? Yes, he just ran past my house again. Wait, he's slowing down. He's stopping at the corner of Sycamore and Maple Grove. Now he's stretching against a fence post, but he keeps looking around. It's very suspicious behavior. Diana's heart began to pound. The corner of Sycamore and Maple Grove, that was Isaiah's primary stretching spot. He stopped there every morning to stretch his hamstrings because of the old college football injury that still bothered him when he pushed too hard on his runs. Can you describe this person's physical appearance in more detail? Black male, as I said. Maybe 6 feet tall, athletic build. He's wearing a dark cap and sunglasses now. The hoodie has some kind of logo on it, but I can't read it from this distance. He looks like he's in his 30s. Isaiah was 6'1", athletic build from his years playing college football, and his religious commitment to fitness. He always wore his St. Augustine Medical Center hoodie for morning runs, and he was 36 years old. Diana felt her professional composure beginning to crack. 9 years of training fought against the personal reality unfolding in front of her. Ma'am, what is this person doing right now that constitutes a threat? Patricia's voice rose slightly, frustration creeping in. I just explained that. He's casing houses. Anyone can see that. And given the recent crime in neighboring areas, I think it's reasonable to be concerned when a stranger is lurking around expensive homes. Finale. You said he's running and stretching. Are those the only acts stretching? Are those the only actions you've observed? Yes, but the intent is obvious. Why else would someone be running through this neighborhood dressed like that, stopping to examine houses? Diana closed her eyes. Look, Diana closed her eyes. Look, Diana closed her closed. Doubtless this person attempted to open any doors. Has he approached any residence? Has he touched any residence? Has he damaged any property? Well, no, but is he carrying any visible weapons, tools, bags, or suspicious items? Has he damaged any property? One daking train inlaid action preparens, bestare mika 12 subetsen lister, Ludakin tin pulled up, unika, pishul phone pressed to her ear. She opened their shared family tracking app, something they'd set up after Diana's younger sister had been in a car accident, and nobody could locate her for hours. On the app's map, she could see Isaiah's location in real time. There he was, a blue dot pulsing on Sycamore Court, right at the corner of Maple Grove Drive, exactly where Patricia Vandermeer had described. Ma'am, can you still see this individual? Yes, he's finishing his stretching now. Wait, he's jogging again. He's heading north on Maple Grove Drive I think he's heading toward Magnolia Lane. Diana's house was on Magnolia Lane, 2847, Magnolia Lane to be precise. Ma'am, I need you to continue describing what you're seeing. He's maintaining a steady jogging pace. He's passing the Martinez house now. Now the Johnsons, their daughter just got in her car. Oh God, I hope she locks her doors. He's getting closer to her. Has this person approached the young woman or her vehicle? No, he just ran past, but he could have. Ma'am, I need you to describe only what is actually happening, not what you fear might happen. Can you do that? Patricia's voice took on an edge. Look, I don't appreciate your tone. I'm calling to report suspicious activity, and you're acting like I'm the problem here. I've read about situations like this, where people called to report concerns and were dismissed, and then something terrible happened. I don't want that on my conscience. Diana's supervisor, Leonard Kowalski, rolled his chair over to her station. He'd been monitoring her screen and could see the call duration stretching longer than typical 911 interactions. He raised his eyebrows in a silent question. "Everything okay?" Diana gave him a slight nod, but her hand was shaking as she entered notes into the call log. "Ma'am, I'm not dismissing your concerns. I'm attempting to gather accurate information about what you're reporting. Can you still see the individual?" "Yes, he's slowing down again. He's stopping in front of a house. A colonial-style place with black shutters. He's walking up the driveway now. Diana's own house. Lazia was arriving home from his run." "Ma'am, what is he doing?" "He's standing in the driveway, looking at his watch or phone. I can't tell which. Now he's stretching again. He's just standing there in someone's driveway, like he owns the place. That particular house at that location. Do you know who lives there?" "No, I haven't met everyone on Magnolia Lane yet." "Why? Do you know something about this person?" Diana made a decision that would change everything. "Yes, ma'am, I do." "What's your full name?" "I told you, Patricia Vandermeer." "Why are you asking me questions instead of sending police officers?" "Miss Vandermeer, I need to inform you of something very important. The individual you've been reporting as suspicious, the one you claim doesn't belong in your neighborhood, is Dr. Isaiah Castellanos. He's the head of cardiovascular surgery at St. Augustine Medical Center. He's lived in Willowbrook Meadows at 2847 Magnolia Lane for 2 years and 4 months. The house you just described him standing in front of, that's his house. Our house. I'm his wife." The silence that followed was absolute, complete, devastating. Diana could hear Patricia's breathing through the phone line, short, sharp intakes of breath as the reality settled in. "What? No, that can't be. The dark, concealing clothing you described is his St. Augustine Medical Center hoodie that he wears on every morning run. The suspicious examination of houses is him checking his heart rate on his medical-grade fitness watch, which he uses to monitor his cardiovascular health. The casing of the Stevenson house is him stretching at his regular landmark. He stretches at specific points along his route because he tore his ACL 4 years ago and has to be careful about overuse injuries. But I didn't know. How was I supposed to know?" "That's precisely the question you should have asked yourself before calling 911, Miss Vandermeer. What did you know? What did you observe versus what did you assume?" Chapter 5. The Reckoning. 18 minutes. Leonard was now standing directly behind Diana's chair, listening to the call through the shared audio system. His face was grave, but he made no move to intervene. Patricia's voice had changed completely. The confident authority was gone, replaced by something between panic and desperate justification. "Look, I made an honest mistake. I was just trying to protect my neighborhood. Surely you can understand that. We've had crime alerts. The Facebook group said to report anything suspicious." "Miss Vandermeer, do you understand what you actually reported? You called 911, an emergency line designed for actual emergencies, to report a black man exercising in his own neighborhood. You provided no evidence of criminal activity. You observed no threatening behavior. You witnessed no crime. You simply saw a black man and assumed he was a threat. That's not fair. I wasn't making it about race. Then what was it about? Because you described his race before you described any behavior. The first words out of your mouth were black male, not person running, not individual acting suspiciously. Your lead identifier was his race. I was just giving you a description, And when I asked what made him suspicious, you cited normal running and stretching behavior. The only thing that made him suspicious to you was the combination of his race and your assumption that he didn't belong in your expensive neighborhood. Diana's voice remained professional, but there was steel underneath now. Leonard placed a hand on her shoulder, not to stop her, but in support. Miss Vandermeer, did you know that false reports to 911 can result in criminal charges under Riverside Heights County Code, Section 148.3? Did you know that racially motivated false reports can result in civil rights violations? Did you know that police responses to calls like yours have resulted in innocent black men being killed? Patricia's voice rose to near hysteria. Killed? I wasn't trying to get anyone killed. I just wanted someone to check it out. How was I supposed to know he was a doctor? He looked suspicious. He looked black, Miss Vandermeer. That's what made him suspicious to you. A black man in your wealthy, predominantly white neighborhood couldn't possibly belong there, couldn't possibly live there, couldn't possibly have earned his place there through years of medical school, surgical training, and saving lives. You're twisting my words. I'm repeating your words back to you. You said he doesn't belong here. You said he looked like he was from somewhere else. You assumed criminality based purely on his appearance. That's not twisting, that's accuracy. Chapter 6. The witness, 18:22 minutes. What neither Diana nor Patricia knew was that the entire incident had been captured by more than just the 911 recording system. Clarissa Kowalski, 26 years old, and recently graduated from Riverside Heights University with a degree in social justice journalism, had been walking her rescue pit bull, Duke, through the Willowbrook Meadows neighborhood that morning. She was staying with her uncle Leonard, Diana's supervisor, while she worked on her master's thesis about systemic racism in affluent suburban communities. Clarissa had seen Isaiah run past, offering him a friendly wave. She'd met him twice before at her uncle's house during family barbecues. She knew he was a surgeon, knew he lived in the neighborhood, knew he ran this same route every morning. Then she'd noticed Patricia Vandermeer standing rigid at her kitchen window, phone pressed to her ear, staring intensely at Isaiah with an expression Clarissa recognized immediately. She'd seen that look before while researching her thesis, the look of someone convinced they were witnessing a crime when they were actually witnessing their own bias. Clarissa had pulled out her phone and started recording. She captured Patricia at the window, clearly on a phone call tracking Isaiah's movements. She captured Isaiah doing his completely innocent stretching routine. She captured the moment Patricia's face went from concern to confusion to absolute horror, as she apparently received information through her phone call. Clarissa didn't know exactly what had been said, but she knew she'd witnessed something important. She immediately posted the video to her Twitter account with the caption, "This is what racial profiling looks like in real time. Black man jogging in his own neighborhood. White woman calling someone police on him. He's a doctor who lives here. This is America. #Willowbrook Meadows #racial profiling #bias in action." Within 5 minutes, the video had 50 retweets. Within 10 minutes, 200 retweets. Within 15 minutes, it was being picked up by local activist accounts. Within 20 minutes, it had been shared to the Willowbrook Meadows Community Watch Facebook group by someone who'd seen it on Twitter. Chapter 7. The spread, 22 minutes, 26 minutes. Diana's personal phone started buzzing with notifications, text messages, Facebook alerts, Twitter mentions. She glanced down during a brief pause in her call with Patricia. The first message was from her younger sister, Roses. "This is Isaiah.
Someone posted a video. Did someone call the cops on him? Attached was Clarissa's video. Diana's blood ran cold. The cops on him. Attached was Clarissa's video. Diana's blood ran cold. Miss Vandermeer, she said, her voice carefully controlled. I need to inform you that this incident has been documented by a witness and is now being shared on social media. What? Who was recording? That's not relevant to this call. What is relevant is that you are now facing potential conference call consequences on this phone conversation. Your decision to racially profile my husband, a decision made without evidence, without justification, Please, you have to understand. I didn't allow this to happen. I didn't need for this to happen. Anesthesia stem. This to happen. I'm new to the neighborhood. I don't know everyone yet.
I'm new to the neighborhood. I don't know everyone yet. Can't we just forget this happened? I'll apologize to your husband. A misunderstanding, Diana repeated, her voice flat. Miss Vandermeer, this wasn't a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding is when you mistake one person for another, or when you misinterpret innocent words. What you did was racial profiling. You saw a black man and immediately assumed criminality. That's not a misunderstanding. That's prejudice. Chapter 8. The System 26:30 minutes. Leonard leaned down and spoke quietly to Diana. I need you to wrap this call and take your break. We need to discuss protocol. Diana nodded. Miss Vandermeer, I'm going to conclude this call now. Your report has been logged in our system. No officers will be dispatched because no crime was observed or committed. However, this call will be reviewed by supervisors and potentially referred to our Civil Rights Compliance Division. Wait, what does that mean? Am I in trouble? That will be determined through the review process. Have a good day, ma'am. Diana disconnected the call and immediately slumped in her chair, the professional mask finally cracking. 9 years of training, and she'd never had to handle anything like this. Leonard pulled up a second chair. Diana, I need you to know, you handled that perfectly, professionally, ethically, by the book. But this is going to get complicated. I know, the video is spreading. The local news is going to pick this up. Internal Affairs will want to review the call to make sure there were no policy violations on your end. I followed every protocol, Lenny. I know you did, but when the dispatcher is personally connected to the person being reported, it's complicated. You're going to be under scrutiny. Diana's phone buzzed again. This time it was a call from Isaiah. She answered, Hey, Diana, what's going on? Rosa just sent me a video. Did someone call the cops on me this morning? Diana closed her eyes. Not exactly. Someone called 911, but I was the dispatcher who took the call. Silence on the other end. What? I'll explain when I get home. But Isaiah, this is going to get big, really big. Chapter 9. The reaction 33 minutes. Within 30 minutes of Clarissa's video being posted, 3 local news stations had reached out for comment. Within 45 minutes, the Riverside Heights County Sheriff's Department had issued a statement saying they were reviewing the incident. By the time Diana's shift ended at 2 p.m., the story had exploded. The Willowbrook Meadows Community Watch Facebook group was in chaos. The video had been shared 847 times. Comments were flooding in faster than moderators could keep up. This is absolutely disgusting. Dr. Castellanos saved my mother's life. I can't believe someone who just moved here would call the cops on a neighbor she doesn't even know. This is why black families don't feel safe anywhere, even in their own neighborhoods. We need to know who made this call. They need to be held accountable. Patricia Vandermeer. It's Patricia Vandermeer. Someone confirmed it, and there it was. Patricia's name now public, spreading through the community like wildfire. Diana drove home in a daze, her phone buzzing constantly with calls from reporters, messages from friends, notifications from social media. When she turned onto Magnolia Lane, she saw them, news vans, 3 of them, parked strategically to capture her house in the background. A reporter spotted her car and rushed forward with a camera crew. Diana kept her windows up and pulled into her garage, the door closing behind her before anyone could approach. Inside, Isaiah was sitting at the kitchen table, still in his scrubs from surgery, his laptop open in front of him. "Diana," he said quietly, "I've been watching this spread for the past 2 hours. There are reporters outside. People are calling my office. The hospital administrator wants to meet with me tomorrow." Diana sat down across from him, finally allowing herself to cry. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry this happened to you." Isaiah reached across the table and took her hands. "This didn't happen to me, Diana. This happens to every black person in America, every day, in different ways. We just happen to be the ones with it on record this time." Chapter 10, The Cliffhanger. 33:36 minutes. Diana's phone rang, an unknown number with a Riverside Heights area code. She answered hesitantly. "Hello, Mrs. Castellanos. This is Attorney Marcus Chen with the Southern Coalition for Civil Rights. I've been reviewing the video and the 911 call recording that's now circulating online. I'd like to discuss the possibility of filing a civil rights complaint against Miss Patricia Vandermeer and potentially the Willowbrook Meadows Homeowners Association for creating an environment that encourages racial profiling. The HOA. What did they do? The Facebook group. The constant stay vigilant posts, the emphasis on reporting suspicious activity without clear guidelines. It creates an atmosphere where bias becomes action. We've seen this pattern before. Your case could be significant." Diana looked at Isaiah, who was watching her carefully. "I need to think about this," Diana said. "Of course, but Mrs. Castellanos, I need you to understand something. This isn't just about you and your husband anymore. There are 17 other black families in Willowbrook Meadows, and based on what we're hearing, this isn't the first time something like this has happened. It's just the first time it was documented so clearly." After Diana hung up, her phone immediately rang again. This time it was her supervisor. "Diana, I'm calling with bad news. The sheriff's department has ordered an internal investigation. They're questioning whether you violated protocol by revealing your personal connection during a 911 call. You're being placed on administrative leave pending the investigation." "Administrative leave? Lenny, I did everything right. I know, but when a call goes viral and involves an employee's family member, they have to investigate. I'm sorry, Diana. I fought for you, but it's out of my hands. Investigating whether I violated protocol." Isaiah's jaw tightened. "So she calls 911 on me for jogging. You handle it professionally, and now you're being punished?" Before Diana could respond, her phone buzzed with a news alert. 911 dispatcher confronts woman who racially profiled her husband. Call recording goes viral. Dispatcher now under investigation. And then another notification, an email from Patricia Vandermeer. The subject line read, "I'm so sorry. Please don't ruin my life over this." Diana stared at the unread email, her finger hovering over it. Isaiah's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Dr. Castellanos, this is your neighbor at 4821 Sycamore, Mr. Tanaka. My wife and I stand with you. Whatever you need, we're organizing a community meeting. People need to hear what happened." Another text, this time from the Johnsons. "Doc, our entire family is horrified. We want to help. What can we do?" And another from the Martinez family. "Dr. Castellanos, we've lived in this neighborhood for 12 years. We've seen the subtle racism. This needed to be exposed. Thank you for not staying silent." Diana looked at Isaiah, tears streaming down her face. "What do we do?" she whispered. Isaiah took a long, slow breath. "We tell the truth, all of it, and we let the chips fall where they may." Outside, news cameras continued to roll. Patricia Vandermeer's phone was ringing off the hook with angry calls from neighbors, and somewhere in Riverside Heights, 17 other black families were watching the story unfold, wondering if they would be next. The morning jog that changed everything was over, but the real reckoning had only just begun. Diana stared at Patricia Vandermeer's email on her phone screen. Isaiah leaned over her shoulder, reading the subject line, "I'm so sorry. Please don't ruin my life over this." Should I open it? Diana whispered. Let's see what she has to say, Isaiah replied, his voice tight. Diana clicked. The email was long, rambling, desperate. Dear Mrs. Castellanos, I don't know how to begin this, except to say I'm devastated by what happened this morning. I've been crying for hours. I never meant to hurt anyone. I was just trying to be a good neighbor, to keep our community safe. I know what it looks like. I know what people are saying online, but I'm not a racist. I have black friends. I voted for Obama twice. I donate to the NAACP. I just made a terrible, terrible mistake. Please understand, I'm new here. I don't know everyone yet. When I saw someone I didn't recognize, dressed in dark clothing, stopping in front of houses, my mind went to the worst-case scenario. The neighborhood Facebook group has been posting about break-ins for weeks. I was scared. I realize now how this looks. I realize I should have introduced myself to more neighbors before jumping to conclusions. I'm willing to apologize publicly to Dr. Castellanos. I'm willing to attend sensitivity training. I'll do whatever it takes to make this right. But please, I'm begging you, don't let this destroy my life. I just retired. I spent my entire savings on this house. If I'm forced to sell and move because the neighborhood hates me, I'll lose everything. I have nowhere else to go. Can we please handle this privately, away from the cameras and the internet? I'll apologize, I'll learn. Just please don't make me the face of racism in America. Sincerely, Patricia Vandermeer. Diana finished reading and looked up at Isaiah. His face was unreadable. She wants privacy, Diana said bitterly. After making our lives public, after calling 911 on you for jogging, she wants privacy. That evening, Mr. Tanaka had organized an emergency community meeting at the Willowbrook Meadows clubhouse. Over 200 residents packed the room, the largest turnout in the neighborhood's history. Isaiah and Diana arrived to find news cameras outside and protesters holding signs, Black Lives Matter in Willowbrook and jogging, while black is not a crime. Inside, the tension was electric. Patricia Vandermeer sat alone in the back corner, her eyes red from crying, her hands shaking. Some neighbors glared at her. Others looked away uncomfortably. Mr. Tanaka called the meeting to order. We're here because something happened in our neighborhood that demands a response. Dr. Castellanos, would you like to speak? Isaiah stood slowly. The room fell silent. I've lived here for over 2 years, he began, his voice steady. I've waved to neighbors every morning. I've contributed to community funds. I've performed surgery on some of your family members. But this morning someone looked at me and saw a criminal. Not because of anything I did, but because of how I look. He paused, letting the words sink in. Patricia Vandermeer called 911 on me for jogging, for stretching, for existing in my own neighborhood. And here's what terrifies me. If my wife hadn't been the dispatcher, if someone else had taken that call, would police have arrived with guns drawn? Would I have ended up like a Maud Arbery, killed for jogging while black? The room erupted in murmurs. Patricia sobbed audibly in the corner. But this isn't just about Patricia, Isaiah continued. This is about a culture, the Facebook posts telling us to be vigilant, the assumptions about who belongs and who doesn't, the comfort some of you feel calling 911 on black people doing ordinary things. Mrs. Martinez stood up. Castellanos is right. My husband and I have lived here for 12 years. We're Mexican-American. Do you know how many times we've been asked if we're the landscapers? How many times people have been surprised we own our home? Other voices joined in. The Johnson family shared their daughter's experience of being followed by security at the neighborhood pool. The Chen family talked about being asked where they were really from. despite being born in America. Patricia stood up suddenly, her voice breaking. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I made a mistake. Please, I'm not a monster. Diana stood, facing Patricia for the first time. You're not a monster, Miss Vandermeer, but you're a product of a system that teaches people like you to fear people like my husband. And your tears, they don't undo the trauma. They don't erase the fear. Isaiah felt when I told him what happened. After the meeting, attorney Marcus Chen approached Isaiah and Diana outside. I've been documenting everything, he said. The 911 call, the video, the community response. You have grounds for a civil rights lawsuit. We could seek damages, force policy changes, make national news. This could be bigger than you realize. Isaiah looked at Diana. They'd discussed this for hours. We're not suing Patricia, Isaiah said finally. Chen's eyebrows shot up. What? Why not? Because that's not what this is about, Diana explained. We don't want her money or her house. We want change. Isaiah nodded. Here's what we want instead. Mandatory anti-bias training for every Willowbrook Meadows resident. Partnership with local civil rights organizations. A community fund for diversity education. And Patricia Vandermeer doesn't get to just apologize and move on. She becomes the face of this change. Chen smiled slowly. You want redemption instead of revenge. We want transformation, Diana corrected. The Willowbrook Meadows Dignity Initiative launched in September, funded by donations from residents who'd been shaken by the incident. Patricia Vandermeer, instead of being driven out, became its most unlikely champion. She now led monthly workshops on unconscious bias, telling her story over and over to church groups, schools, and community organizations. Each time she began the same way. My name is Patricia Vandermeer, and I called 911 on a black doctor for jogging in his own neighborhood. The Riverside Heights Sheriff's Department cleared Diana of any wrongdoing, acknowledging she'd handled the call with exemplary professionalism under extraordinarily difficult circumstances. Clarissa Kowalski's video had been viewed over 5 million times, sparking similar initiatives in 12 other communities across the country. And every morning at 6:43 a.m., Isaiah still ran his route through Willowbrook Meadows. But now neighbors didn't just wave, they called out his name, thanked him for his courage, and sometimes joined him for a few blocks. One morning Patricia stepped out of her house as Isaiah jogged past. Dr. Castellanos, she called out hesitantly. He stopped, turning to face her. I just wanted you to know, I'm still learning, still unlearning, but I'm trying. Isaiah nodded slowly. That's all any of us can do, Miss Vandermeer. Keep trying. As he jogged away, Patricia whispered to herself, keep trying. Diana returned to her dispatch job, where she now trained other dispatchers on recognizing bias in emergency calls. The 911 call recording became required listening for all new hires. Isaiah continued saving lives at St. Augustine Medical Center, but he also became a speaker on racial justice, sharing his story at medical conferences and community forums. And Willowbrook Meadows, it became known as the neighborhood that chose transformation over division, redemption over revenge, and uncomfortable growth over comfortable silence. Because sometimes justice doesn't come from lawsuits and punishment. Sometimes it comes from a community deciding that this moment, this pain, this truth, will be the catalyst for genuine change. Patricia Vandermeer still lives at 4792 Sycamore Court. She still makes mistakes, but now she catches herself, questions her assumptions, and does the hard work of examining her own bias. And every morning when she sees Isaiah run past, she doesn't see a threat. She sees her neighbor.
Her teacher, her reminder that change is always possible. The message, change doesn't happen in courtrooms. It happens in conversations, in communities willing to confront uncomfortable truth, in people brave enough to transform pain into progress. What assumptions are you making about the people around you? What biases are hiding in your comfort zone? What call to action are you ignoring? The next Isaiah Castellanos is jogging through a neighborhood right now. The next Patricia Vandermeer is watching from a window. Which one will you be?